I scheduled an appointment with Mr. Pollard, Kim said. Brittany didn't believe her. Like her parents, Linda and Cohen, she also looked down on Natalie's family. Since you're so certain, why don't we go in together? Kim didn't back down, because she had personally spoken to Mr. Pollard and set up a meeting. She and Stephen followed Brittany and Paul upstairs. Brittany introduced herself and her husband to the receptionist and told her that they had an appointment with Mr. Pollard. The receptionist made a quick call to confirm. Mr. Pollard said you can go in. Thank you, Brittany said. She pointed at Kim and added, by the way, this is my cousin, Kim Cassidy. She also has an appointment with Mr. Pollard. Since we're relatives, we don't mind meeting him together. The receptionist made another call. I'm sorry, Miss Brittany. Mr. Pollard said he never made an appointment with your cousin. Kim was in disbelief. How is that possible? I spoke to him on the phone a few hours ago. Brittany pretended to help her out. Can you double-check? Maybe there's a mistake somewhere. I'm sorry, but there's no mistake. Mr. Pollard stated clearly that he doesn't have an appointment with Kim Cassidy. Brittany took the opportunity to lecture Kim. Nothing good comes out of lying. You should learn from this. Don't do it again. You'll only embarrass yourself. She linked arms with Paul and entered the office. Kim took out her phone to call Mr. Pollard, but he didn't pick up. It was obvious that he had made a fool out of her on purpose. It's okay, Kim. I believe Mr. Pollard will meet with you soon. Wait for me in the lobby. I'll be right back. I need to use the bathroom. Before Kim could say anything, Stephen headed to the bathroom down the hall. Fortunately, it was empty. He dialed Jack's number. What's going on? Why did Mr. Pollard cancel his appointment with my wife?
Please wait a moment. I'll find out what happened,
Jack said. At this time, Cohen, Brittany, and Paul were in Mr. Pollard's office. Mr. Cohen, your daughter and her husband are truly talented. You're too kind, Brittany said. They were interrupted when Mr. Pollard's phone rang. Upon seeing the caller ID, his expression turned serious. He signaled for the three of them to be quiet. I have to take this. It's my boss.
Why are you turning away the guests from Haynes Industries?
Jack demanded. Mr. Pollard was confused. Mr. Stein, where is this coming from? I never turn them away. They're in my office. Jack was also confused. This was different from what Stephen had said. After thinking it over, he asked, Are you meeting with a man and woman from Haynes Industries? That's correct. They're a perfect pair, a match made in heaven. Mr. Pollard's description matched Stephen and Kim. It really was them. Maybe there was a misunderstanding somewhere and the situation had already been resolved. Okay, treat them well. They're the only ones qualified to be Eastern Sea Group's collaborator. I understand, Mr. Stein. Mr. Pollard was surprised that Jack thought so highly of Cohen and his family. He made up his mind to maintain a friendly relationship with them. Perhaps they'd be able to help him out in the future. What did your boss say? Cohen asked when Mr. Pollard hung up. Nothing much. It seems like you and your family have a high chance of becoming our collaborator. You should have told me that you were acquainted with my boss. He thinks of you three as important guests. I hope you can put in a good word for me when there's a chance. Cohen was puzzled because he'd never met Mr. Pollard's boss before. However, he nodded with a smile. Of course. After their discussion, the three of them left Mr. Pollard's office. Dad, you're incredible, Brittany said. I didn't expect our meeting to go so smoothly. What did you do to get him on our side? You're thinking too much. I don't even know who his boss is. Cohen's gaze shifted to Paul. Wait, I think I know why he was acting like that. Even though I gave him money, that's not enough for him to name us as his company's collaborators. The only possibility is that he was impressed by Paul. Brittany's husband, Paul, was a successful businessman overseas. Brittany looked at Paul in admiration. It's all thanks to you, honey. You did a great job. I'll make sure to reward you tonight. Paul, who had been silent for most of the meeting, was at a loss for words. How had he become the reason for their success? But when he thought about Brittany's reward, he decided to take the credit for it. Anything for you, sweetie. When the three of them went downstairs to the lobby, they bumped into Stephen and Kim. Stephen had just come back from the bathroom. You two haven't left yet? Brittany said mockingly. Kim, don't just sit here and wait. Mr. Pollard won't meet with you.
Who told you that? Stephen shot back. He'll come running in a few minutes and apologize to her in person.
Brittany laughed. Kim, your husband is as useless as the rumors. Is bragging the only thing he can do? I might as well tell you that during our meeting with Mr. Pollard, he told me and Paul that we would be Eastern Sea Group's collaborators. Stop getting your hopes up. The winner's already been decided. Stephen instantly grasped the situation. Mr. Pollard must have mistaken Brittany and her family for him and Kim. He took out his phone and sent a message to Jack. After receiving the news, Jack promptly called Mr. Pollard and reprimanded him. I was referring to Kim Cassidy and Stephen Adams from Haynes Industries. I'll give you 1 minute. Go downstairs and apologize to them. Whether they forgive you or not is outside of my control. Who exactly are they? Mr. Pollard asked in a shaky voice. Don't ask questions. All I can say is that you and I both can't afford to offend them, especially Kim's husband. He can even decide my fate with a single sentence. You understand? Mr. Pollard started panicking. If a simple sentence could ruin his boss's life, wouldn't a shrimp like him be tramped on? He rushed out of the office and ran into the elevator. Kim was on the verge of losing her patience. Not only was Mr. Pollard nowhere to be seen, Stephen was bickering with Brittany's family and bragging about ridiculous things. Stephen, what are you saying? Let's just leave. Stephen pointed to the elevator. I'm not lying. Look, isn't that Mr. Pollard? The elevator doors opened, and Mr. Pollard hurried across the lobby. Cohen and his family were surprised to see him again so soon. Cohen stepped forward and prepared to shake hands with him. Mr. Pollard, you didn't have to come down to see us off. However, Mr. Pollard ignored him and passed him by. He quickly walked up to Stephen and Kim. Are you two Kim Cassidy and Stephen Adams from Haynes Industries? Yes, that's us. I'm Kim, and this is my husband, Stephen. To everyone's surprise, with the exception of Stephen, Mr. Pollard lowered his head and apologized profusely. I made a huge mistake. Please forgive me. Cohen and his family looked at Stephen in disbelief. His words from before had hit the mark. Moreover, from Mr. Pollard's tone of voice, it was clear that he was afraid of him and Kim. Kim was a little embarrassed that Mr. Pollard was apologizing so much in the middle of a crowded lobby. He looked like he was ready to get on his knees. Mr. Pollard, it's all right. If you do this here, you'll be putting me in a difficult position. Miss Kim, please forgive me. Only then will I be able to raise my head. Kim glanced at Stephen. When she saw him nod, she turned back to Mr. Pollard. Okay, I forgive you. Mr. Pollard looked up like he had been reborn. Thank you both. Cohen and Brittany exchanged a glance. Why was Mr. Pollard treating Kim and Stephen like they were VIPs? And what had they done for him to personally run downstairs and admit his mistake in front of a crowd? Cohen walked over. Mr. Pollard, are you mistaking them for some other distinguished guests? Kim has no status within Haynes Industries, and Stephen is a freeloader at her house. Mr. Pollard was terrified when Cohen belittled Kim and Stephen. From now on, you and your family have nothing to do with me. My boss informed me that our only collaborator will be Miss Kim. As for the rest of you people representing Haynes Industries, don't even think about it. Cohen and his family were so embarrassed that they had no choice but to leave. They had just been mocking Stephen for his overly confident attitude, but Mr. Pollard had cut ties with them in the blink of an eye. I heard that Kim has a wealthy patron in Los Angeles, Brittany said bitterly. Mr. Pollard probably changed his mind all of a sudden because of him. I didn't think Kim would sell her body in order to take over Haynes Industries. Cohen patted Paul's shoulder. Since she's going this far for the company, then she can't blame us for going all out. Paul, you have a profitable business overseas, so in terms of money and status, you're not inferior to Kim's rich patron in any way. I don't believe that Kim will be the final winner. No problem, I'll take care of it, Paul said. In reality, his profitable business didn't exist. He was an unemployed young man who happened to meet Brittany when he came to the United States. With his attractive appearance and his skill for flattery, she had fallen for him at first sight. On the way back to the Haynes family's house, Kim thought about the earlier incident. Mr. Pollard had told her that she would be the Eastern Sea Group's collaborator, but that would only be confirmed next week at the event. He had specifically told her that she couldn't tell anyone else about this. In addition, not only had Mr. Pollard embarrassed himself in the lobby, he also seemed afraid of them. Kim recalled that recently, everything that Stephen said, no matter how outrageous, had turned out to be true. Or rather, it was more accurate to say that it had become reality. Stephen, do you have something you want to tell me? I'm actually a superhero who has the power to save the world. That's why Mr. Pollard was so afraid, Stephen replied cheerfully. Kim figured that he might have secretly contacted the owner of Global Investment, or Jack, for help. Okay, if you don't want to tell me, then forget it. We shouldn't keep relying on other people, though. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Amy has a few days off from school, so she'll be coming to Santa Ana. I need to prepare a presentation for next week's event, so I'll be a bit busy this week. Can you pick her up from the airport? Stephen hailed a cab to the airport to pick up Amy. She arrived not long after, but she wasn't alone. A girl around Amy's age was next to her, and combined with their beautiful looks, they attracted the attention of countless passerbys. Amy looked around, but she didn't see any sign of Kim. Hey, Stephen. Why are you here alone? Where's my sister? Kim is representing Haynes Industries for the event next week. She's busy making preparations. She didn't have time to come pick you up, so I came by myself. Stephen turned to Amy's friend. Is this your classmate? Yeah, she's pretty, right? Amy chuckled. Don't go checking her out now, or else I'm going to tell Kim. Stephen sighed. His sister-in-law was as mischievous as ever. He wasn't thinking or doing anything of the sort. Vanessa took the initiative to greet him. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm Amy's roommate. She leaned closer to Amy and whispered, Your brother-in-law is handsome. Amy scoffed. Is this your definition of handsome? Stefan's way better than him. I don't think you know how to judge a man's looks. Amy and Vanessa were whispering, but Stephen could hear them clearly. He hadn't expected Amy to still be interested in Stefan. As they made their way to the exit, a commotion caught their attention. There was a crowd of people chanting someone's name. It was obvious that they were some celebrity's fan club. A man walked out, flanked by several bodyguards in suits and sunglasses. They stepped forward to weave a path through the crowd, rudely pushing the passionate fans aside. Everyone, please get out of the way. Even though the fans were being treated roughly, they thought nothing of it and continued to shout excitedly. Vanessa's face lit up when she recognized the celebrity. Amy, look, Zion's here in Santa Ana. I didn't think we'd get the chance to see him. Let's go ask for an autograph. Amy and Vanessa rushed over as Stephen trailed after them, confused. Who's Zion? Amy threw an exasperated look over her shoulder. You're such a country bumpkin. You don't even know who Zion is? He's one of the most famous celebrities in our country, and he has millions of fans. He's been singing and acting since he was young, and he instantly became famous when he debuted. I see, Stephen said, looking towards the horde of people ahead of them. Zion was being escorted through the crowd by a group of serious-looking men. He took off his sunglasses and waved at his fans. With the appearance of a famous celebrity, the surrounding passerbys stopped to watch and take pictures. There were so many people that Amy and Vanessa couldn't get near him. They trudged back to Stephen in disappointment. What a pity. We were so close. Vanessa showed Amy the post on her phone. It's not over. Zion updated his social media just now. He's not leaving the airport yet. He's headed to a fast food restaurant. Amy's mood lifted. What are you waiting for? This is our chance. Let's go. She pulled Vanessa towards the restaurant. When they got there, the once bustling restaurant was suddenly deserted. A group of security guards was surrounding the entrance. It wasn't hard to guess that they kicked out the customers for Zion to eat alone. Seeing Amy and Vanessa come over, Zion's bodyguards waved them away. This place is under martial law. No one is allowed to enter. Really? Stephen pointed at Zion, who was inside the restaurant. Then how'd he get in? The bodyguards looked at each other. Ever since they started working for Zion, they'd always turned their fans away using this excuse. The fans always cooperated at the mention of martial law. Because he's Zion, and who are you supposed to be? One of the bodyguards asked mockingly. A middle-aged woman who appeared to be Zion's manager stepped out of the restaurant. What's going on? These three are fans of Zion. They're trying to get inside.
Zion's manager glanced at them and waved her hand. He's tired after a long flight, so he can't give you an autograph right now. Don't bother him while he's eating. So just because he wanted to eat alone, you drove all the other customers out of the restaurant? What right do you have to do that? Stephen demanded. Regardless of how famous a celebrity was, they didn't have the right to use their fame to their advantage and put themselves above others, especially not with an excuse like martial law. To make things worse, Zion's fans considered this to be a normal occurrence. This was a tragedy and an insult to their country. Just like the bodyguards, Zion's manager was surprised by Stephen's response. As someone who worked closely with Zion, she had always enjoyed these kinds of privileges, so she didn't think they were doing anything wrong. Zion's famous, and he has a lot of fans. We're doing this to protect him. Let me remind you, this place is under martial law. Don't make things difficult for us and leave. We've been treating you kindly up until now, but don't blame us for being rude if you keep this up. Amy did want to ask Zion for an autograph, but she didn't want to disturb him and his staff. She and Vanessa turned to leave. Stephen, let's go. You guys go first. I'll be there in a minute, Stephen said. When they left, he turned back to the manager. Who gave you the right to enact martial law in public when the situation doesn't call for it? The manager didn't back down. After all, who was around to enforce the law? More importantly, no one was nearby beside him, so she didn't have to be concerned about Zion's reputation. Words really can't get through to you. Then fine. Security, what are you waiting for? Kick him out. Stephen took out his phone. Since you're insisting on continuing this excuse, I'll give you a taste of what true martial law is. He dialed Xavier's number. Commander Riley, we'll be enacting martial law at the Santa Ana airport. Are you calling for help? The manager mocked. Even if this Commander Riley shows up, it won't do you any good. Zion heard the commotion and came outside. What's happening? One of your crazy fans is causing trouble. He said he would enact a martial law of his own. Zion glanced at Stephen in disdain. He seems clever, but unfortunately he's not that sharp. Deal with this quickly. We're in a rush. After hearing their conversation, Stephen added, Commander Riley, I'll give you 10 minutes. We'll be there soon, Xavier said. After hanging up, he gave an order to Captain Floyd. Tell the Special Forces to head to Santa Ana's airport in 3 minutes and enact martial law. Yes, sir. Captain Floyd took action, and in 3 minutes, 12 military helicopters sounded above the airport. Soldiers in the Special Forces jumped down and surrounded the airport. An announcement came from one of the helicopters circling above. We're from Santa Ana Special Forces, and we're carrying out an urgent mission. This airport is now under martial law. Is martial law seriously in effect? Zion asked in surprise. Even if we're under martial law, it doesn't have anything to do with this lunatic. The Special Forces are here on an emergency mission. The manager said. Hey, you! I'll give you a chance to apologize to us. Do you know how many followers Zion has on social media? Just one post from us, and 100 million fans will come after you. I'll also give you a chance. There's still time for you to admit your wrongdoings, Stephen replied. You want to give us a chance? You really are crazy. A group of soldiers armed with guns from the Special Forces came into the airport and surrounded the exit. Captain Floyd strode towards Stephen and saluted him. Chief, according to your instructions, the airport is under martial law, and it has been sealed off. No one is allowed to enter. Zion and his manager were shocked when they heard Captain Floyd address Stephen as chief. Stephen nodded. Well done, as expected of your team. They're quick. He looked back at Zion and his manager. Compared to before, neither of them dared to look him in the eye. Their spiel about martial law amounted to nothing in the face of Santa Ana's Special Forces. This was the army, and they didn't dare to mess with them. Stephen gestured to the nearby soldiers. Take a good look. This is martial law. Zion and his manager nodded nervously. Do you see how much disruption and chaos martial law can cause to the public? If it were implemented left and right, ordinary citizens would never be able to carry on with their daily lives. Zion and his manager kept their eyes on the floor. "We understand. We won't do it again." Stephen couldn't be bothered to deal with them. "Get out of here! If I ever hear of you doing this kind of thing again, I won't let it go." After they ran off, Stephen gave Captain Floyd further instructions. "You and your team may withdraw." "Yes, sir." Captain Floyd and the other soldiers disappeared from the airport. They had arrived and retreated with the wind. Stephen was pleased with their efficiency. When the dust settled, Amy pulled Vanessa back to the restaurant. "Stephen, why are you standing here? Something big happened at the airport just now. The special forces sealed the exits. I heard it was because a super important person came. Do you know who it was?" "Nope, I was the only one here." "Really? What about Zion?" "He already left." Amy's face fell. "He left just like that? Me and Vanessa didn't get a chance to get his autograph." Vanessa was also disappointed. "We were lucky enough to see him in person, I guess." Stephen racked his brain to understand, but Zion's popularity was beyond his comprehension. Wasn't he just a well-mannered celebrity on the surface with a terrible personality at home? How did he become the idol of over 100 million fans? Was he getting old, or had the times changed? "It's just an autograph. If you want a group photo, I can get that for you too." Vanessa looked at him expectantly. "Are you telling the truth?" "Of course," Stephen said with a smile. "You have my word." Amy narrowed her eyes. "Why are you bragging at a time like this?" Amy knew best about her brother-in-law's capabilities, so she didn't take his words seriously. As for Stephen, although he offered to get Zion's autograph, he wasn't familiar with the entertainment industry. He should have asked Zion for his contact information before he left. Stephen excused himself and went to the bathroom to give Jack a call. "Which entertainment company is Zion affiliated with?" "Starlight Entertainment," Jack said. "It's one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world, and it's also one of the palace's businesses." Well, that made his life 10 times easier. "Tell Zion to come to Santa Ana's airport," Stephen instructed. Jack dialed Zion's number while being unaware of the recent martial law enactment at the airport. He told Zion that the big boss wanted to see him. It hadn't been long since Zion left, so he was still near the airport's vicinity. He was surprised to hear that the owner of Starlight Entertainment was there. His manager was thrilled. "This is a great opportunity to wash away our shame." "What are you talking about?" Zion asked in confusion. "The man was the commander-in-chief, so we can't go against him. But Starlight Entertainment is influential, and it has connections with the military. If we complain to the big boss, he won't stand by and do nothing. Don't forget, you have over 100 million fans. You're an incredible asset to the company. Even if he's the commander-in-chief, he'll give in and apologize to us because of the pressure." Zion mulled over her plan. "That's not a bad idea." As a celebrity with over 100 million fans, he was recognized everywhere he went. Being humiliated by the commander-in-chief was a first-time experience, and he would not tolerate it. Amy rolled her eyes when Stephen came out of the bathroom. "Didn't you say you could get us Zion's autograph? How are you planning to do that? He's not even here." "He'll be here soon," Stephen replied. Amy didn't believe him until Vanessa grabbed her arm and pointed at the exit. "Look, it's really him." Zion was back at the airport with his manager. When they looked around for their boss, their stomachs dropped, because the same man from earlier was still here. Zion was in a panic. "What should we do? Is he here to get in our way because he knew that we were going to rat him out?" "That's impossible," the manager said. "How would he know what we were thinking? We'll just pass by him. We won't be offending him if we don't talk to him." "But didn't the higher-ups tell us that our boss is here? I don't see him anywhere." Looking around, Zion couldn't see anyone besides the commander-in-chief and 2 girls. No one else was around. His manager's phone buzzed with an incoming message. "Wait, Mr. Stein just sent me a picture." After the incident with Mr. Pollard, Jack was careful not to repeat the same mistake. He couldn't have anyone misidentifying someone else for Stephen. "What does he look like?" Zion wondered out loud. "Given his status, he's probably handsome and elegant."
He took his manager's phone with anticipation, but to his shock, the person in the picture was the commander-in-chief. Jack had also included his name in the message, Stephen Adams. Zion and his manager threw their original plan out the window and quickened their pace. They remembered Jack's warning that Stephen didn't want to reveal his identity, so they were careful with their words. "Mr. Adams, what would you like for us to do?" "It's nothing serious," Stephen gestured to Amy and Vanessa. "They're your fans, and they wanted to ask you for your autograph." "Would it be possible?" Vanessa asked with excitement. "Of course," Zion agreed hastily. "It would be my pleasure." "Can we take a picture together?" Amy asked. "No problem. We can take as many photos as you want." Amy was slightly embarrassed to talk to a famous celebrity in person. "You must be busy, though. Are you sure we're not taking up your time?" "Not at all. What could be more important than spending time with my fans?" Amy and Vanessa were beginning to doubt their previous impressions of celebrities. Although they were fans of Zion, there were rumors that many celebrities weren't as nice as the image they portrayed of themselves. But Zion was polite and patient with them, even though he probably had a lot on his plate. Not only did Zion give Amy and Vanessa an autograph, he also accompanied them like a model for photos. They ended up taking quite a number of them. Before each photo was taken, he would ask Stephen for his opinion. Zion even made sure to say his goodbyes to him. "Remember to watch your attitude the next time you talk to your fans. Don't look down on them." "I'll remember your advice, Mr. Adams," Zion said. After Zion and his manager left, Amy and Vanessa realized that Stephen had fulfilled his promise to them. Vanessa looked at him in admiration. "You're awesome, Stephen. You actually managed to get Zion to give us an autograph. We even took a picture together." Amy contemplated Zion and his manager's respectful attitudes towards Stephen. "They were acting like they were afraid of you. You're hiding something from me and Kim, aren't you? Do you want to tell us yourself, or do you want me to expose you?" Stephen's heart raced in a panic at Amy's confident expression. Had she found out who he was? "Since you don't want to tell me, I'll say it for you. Stephen, you're actually—" Amy paused for dramatic effect. "You're actually Zion's fan, am I right? What else would a celebrity be afraid of? Since you have so much free time, you probably followed him around like a little puppy and took pictures of him." Stephen internally sighed in relief. He quickly agreed with her. "Yeah, you guessed right. I didn't only work part-time and deliver meals. I'm also a part-time paparazzi. Aren't I awesome?" "Of course. You're so powerful that Zion was afraid of getting on your bad side. He was scared that you would bark and ruin his image." While Stephen wasn't sure how to feel about suddenly having another job experience shoved under his belt, he felt glad that his identity was safe. It wasn't time for him to reveal it yet. "Hey, do you take pictures of celebrities in secret a lot?" Amy teased. "Vanessa, we'd better be careful when we get there. We can't have puppies taking pictures of us." Needless to say, Stephen was not amused. He took Amy and Vanessa to the Haynes family's house to meet Kim. She was preparing a presentation for the event next week. This was her personality. If she chose to go through with something, she would go all out and do her best. Natalie's 4 sisters and their husbands didn't spend a minute of their time researching. They searched high and low across the city for connections, hoping to secure Mr. Pollard's favor before the event. Linda's husband, Cohen, had to work especially hard. He had to make up for his ruined friendship with Mr. Pollard. Linda and Cohen decided to pin their hopes on Paul, their son-in-law. However, Paul was an unemployed youth who had no business of his own. Because he was afraid of being found out, he had no choice but to come with an excuse and return overseas. Linda and Cohen's daughter, Brittany, was full of confidence. Unlike Kim, who had to scramble to prepare for next week, she believed in her husband and left it to him. Even if Kim did have the support of a wealthy businessman, he was no help to her in Santa Ana. As for Natalie's other 3 sisters, they didn't have a son-in-law with a successful business overseas, nor did they have any connections in the local government. Gianna's husband told his daughter to ask her boyfriend, Edward,
if he could think of a way to become Eastern Sea Group's collaborator. When Edward heard that his girlfriend and her family were going to compete with Stephen, he wanted to talk them out of it. But he recalled the agreement he signed to keep Stephen's identity a secret, so he could only feign ignorance and tell them that he would try and search for someone to help them. Despite the uncertainty, Gianna and her family were confident that they would win. Amy wasn't happy to see Kim doing all the work.
Stephen, my sister's working this hard for her family, but you're not doing anything to help her.
Natalie was also displeased. What can he even do for her? I'll go prepare lunch, Stephen said. The Haynes family's house was huge, and every time Natalie or her 4 sisters came to visit, they would each have their own separate rooms for their families. Each room consisted of 3 bedrooms, 1 living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. As the unfavored family, the room that Natalie and her family had been given was much smaller than her sister's. The Haynes family gathered together for mealtimes, but because Natalie's family wasn't well received, Stephen prepared their meals in case they were still hungry afterwards. On the day before the event, Gordon and Mavis asked everyone to gather in the courtyard. Tomorrow is the Eastern Sea Group's event. Is everyone confident? Gordon asked. Linda's husband was the first to answer. Don't worry, Paul went back home overseas. Tomorrow he'll rush back to Santa Ana. With his connections, we'll definitely become their collaborator. Gordon nodded in satisfaction. I'll be waiting for the good news. Kelly's husband joined the conversation. We don't know who they'll pick. I may not be the most competent out of everyone here, but I do have some friends in the industry. They helped me get in contact with the Eastern Sea Group. Linda's husband maintained a smile as he cursed him in his head. We'll just have to see tomorrow. Gianna's husband chuckled. I've asked Edward for assistance. With his position in the army, the Eastern Sea Group will at least consider us before making a decision. Megan's husband boasted his achievements. I don't have connections, but I have asked someone to deliver an antique to the manager of the project. I heard they've been searching for this antique all over the world. Who would have thought that in order to level the playing field, Megan's husband would take out his trump card? Everyone spoke confidently, as if the winner had already been decided. But Stephen knew that the real winner was Kim. Since Kim was participating in the event, she also spoke up. We don't have connections or gifts, but we do have the skills required to succeed. Natalie's sisters and their families laughed at Kim's naivety and inexperience. They'd been in the business industry for much longer than she had. They knew very well that sometimes just having the skills wouldn't cut it. Becoming the Eastern Sea Group's collaborator was not a feat that could be achieved by relying on business skills alone. Gordon and Mavis smiled in response out of formality. They were more optimistic about Linda's family and Gianna's family. The next day, everyone got up bright and early to get ready for the day. They split into 5 groups and headed to the event venue via 5 different routes. Everyone besides Natalie's family was panicking. Linda's husband, Kelly's husband, Gianna's husband, and Megan's husband were all nervously making calls. What did you just say? Paul's still overseas. He doesn't have a plane ticket home? Isn't he a millionaire? What's the use of buying a plane ticket? He should have his own private plane. Are you kidding me? Mr. Pollard changed his assistant, and his new assistant refused your calls. Doesn't that mean the money I spent is wasted? What was that? Edward has an urgent mission, and his phone is turned off. There's no way he'll be back in time. Huh? He couldn't deliver the antique? He was suspected of accepting bribes, and the police investigated him? Then what happened to my antique? Okay, I won't talk about it anymore. Keep this a secret for me. Don't tell anyone that the antique was from me. While they were all in hot water, Mr. Pollard, the host of today's event, walked on stage. The venue fell silent with Mr. Pollard's arrival. First, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. The Eastern Sea Group will be investing $1 billion to build a 5-star hotel in Santa Ana. Our project received immense support from the city and everyone here today.
we would like to show our gratitude by selecting a business partner from the audience. Of course, we're aware that this city is filled with talented upstarts, which is why we would like to hold a fair competition. The CEO of Eastern Sea Group, Jack Stein, will personally host today's event. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Stein. The audience burst into applause. Jack went on stage and greeted everyone. Stephen looked around. Besides the members of the Haynes family and a few other employees who worked in the business industry, most of the prominent families and enterprises in the city were nowhere to be seen. The city had received news that the winner of today's event had already been decided, and the person behind the event was more powerful than they could imagine. Despite their mishaps, Natalie's sisters and their husbands felt a surge of confidence after seeing their competition. Although they were curious as to why the other prominent families in the city hadn't shown up. Maybe they're too afraid to compete with us, Gianna's husband said. After all, Edward is highly regarded by his superiors, and his future achievements are limitless. Kelly's husband supported Linda's husband since his own dealings had fallen through. Then why isn't he here? Maybe he ran away to avoid being embarrassed. Paul, on the other hand, is the owner of a big company overseas. Even if it's someone as influential as Mr. Stein, he would have to take his achievements into consideration. Stephen glanced at them in disapproval. They placed too much importance on connections. With Jack's introduction, the competition had officially begun. According to the rules, each representative would take turns to promote their respective company and explain why they would be an ideal candidate to take on this project. Kim was the third participant to present. Since she'd prepared thoroughly beforehand, her presentation was concise, detailed, and straight to the point. Moreover, Haynes Industries was an established construction company, so this automatically pushed their representatives to the top. Combined with Kim's excellent presentation, it was safe to say that she was the favorite candidate. Jack and Mr. Pollard nodded in approval as they listened. As expected of the Grand Palace Master's wife, Jack thought, she's a professional and a great presenter. When it was the other representatives from Haynes Industries' turn to present, they were at a loss because none of them had come prepared. They had originally thought that connections would be enough to win. They didn't even have a draft, much less a presentation. Is this the extent of your professionalism? Jack said disapprovingly. All of you and Mrs. Kim represent Haynes Industries. Why is there such a big difference between you and her? More importantly, it seems like none of you are well-versed in your own company. I've made my decision. Eastern Sea Group will select Miss Kim from Haynes Industries as our collaborator. Even though Kim was already aware of the outcome, she was still very excited. She linked arms with Stephen and pulled him to the stage. Natalie's sisters and their husbands were equally shocked. Why was it Kim? As far as they were concerned, even though they hadn't succeeded, never in a million years had they expected the winner to be her. Linda's husband had already heard Mr. Pollard say that Kim was the winner a week ago, but it was still hard to believe. When everyone returned to the Haynes family's house, Gordon and Mavis were informed that Kim had become Eastern Sea Group's business partner. They couldn't accept it. On the other hand, Natalie was ecstatic. She couldn't stop praising Kim. At this point, Gordon and Mavis were forced to congratulate Natalie's family. It's a blessing for our family to have a talented granddaughter like Kim. Great work. Stephen interrupted when they didn't mention anything about taking over Haynes Industries. Grandma, Grandpa, I remember you two saying that whoever becomes Eastern Sea Group's business partner will inherit Haynes Industries. Don't tell me you forgot about that. What are you talking about? When have we broken our promises? Gordon asked with a frown. If that's the case, then please make an announcement in front of everyone. Mavis glared at him. Watch it, Stephen. Don't cross the line. To Gordon and Mavis, the real winners were Linda's family and Gianna's family. They hadn't considered Natalie's family for even a second, so they were hesitant to hand over their company to Kim. Grandma, I'm not asking for much. I just want you to make an announcement, Stephen said. Fine, Gordon gritted out.
He wasn't one to back down, especially not in front of someone like Stephen. He would have to announce the winner in public. Everyone, I'd like to announce Kim Cassidy as the Vice President of Haynes Industries. When I arrive at the company tomorrow, I'll formally submit the paperwork to appoint her to this position. In a lower voice, he added, Are you satisfied? Stephen smiled. Of course, you and Grandma kept your word. Why wouldn't I be? Kim couldn't believe that she'd really become the vice president of the Haynes family's business. As for Natalie, she was proud of her daughter. Their reputation in the Haynes family had skyrocketed. The next morning, Gordon did as he was promised and officially appointed Kim as the vice president. He sat in his office, staring blankly at the ceiling. Reluctance was written all over his face. Linda's family and Gianna's family walked in. Are you really going to hand over the company to Kim? Her husband is Stephen. What else can we do? Mavis said helplessly. I have an idea. I know how we can get rid of him, Linda's husband said. This caught everyone's attention. They prompted him to continue. You've all heard about the Bellows family, right? They're one of the wealthiest families in the city. Their son was Paul's tutor. He's around 30 years old and he's single. If I introduce Kim to their son and they hit it off and get married, our problems will be solved. But Kim's already married, Gianna's husband said. That good-for-nothing Stephen isn't worthy of being the husband of the vice president of our company. I asked around, and the Cassidy family in Los Angeles has always disliked him. They consider him as a useless son-in-law who only knows how to freeload off Kim and her family. They've been trying to get them to divorce for years, but Kim keeps refusing. Are you sure about this? Mavis asked. If the Cassidy family couldn't kick Stephen out, what makes you think we have a chance? Mom, let me finish, Linda's husband said. That was then. This is now. Kim's in Santa Ana, and she's the vice president of Haynes Industries. Whether it's finances, family background, or capability, Stephen can't match up to Kim. We'll use this to our advantage and ask her to choose between Stephen and Haynes Industries. At the same time, we'll introduce the son of the Bellows family to Kim. They'll do whatever I ask of them. After everything is settled, Haynes Industries will belong to us. Natalie's family will only be a figurehead. That's a great idea, Gianna's husband said. But if Kim divorces Stephen, she would have a failed marriage to her name. Would the son of the Bellows family still want her? What's wrong with secondhand goods? Kim and Stephen don't have any children, and her appearance isn't that bad. With her figure and pretty face, it won't be hard for her to win him over. When the time is right, I'll get Kim to hand over her authority. Everyone, including Gordon and Mavis, agreed with this plan. They called Natalie and Kim into the office without Stephen. I have something to tell you both. Natalie, since Kim is now the vice president, the reputation of the Haynes family is in her hands. How can she keep Stephen as her husband? Dad, are you saying you want them to divorce? Yes, Kim has to divorce him. Otherwise, we'll have no choice but to take back her position. Haynes Industries or Stephen. It's your choice, Kim. Natalie agreed in a heartbeat. I've never liked him. He does nothing all day long. Nothing will change whether he's around or not. Kim glared at her. Mom, what are you talking about? I won't divorce Stephen. Aren't you worried that you won't be able to find a good man after the divorce? Mavis asked. Don't worry, I've already thought about it. One of your uncles knows someone from the Bellows family. They're a prominent family in Santa Ana, and they're much wealthier than us. Their son is currently single, and there's many women hoping to win his heart. Your uncle sent your photo to him, and he's interested in getting to know you. Your uncle can introduce you to him. Really? When are you planning to have them meet? Natalie asked excitedly. He knows that Kim's birthday is in 3 days, so he said he would like to meet her then. He even told us he's prepared a birthday present and wants to surprise her. He's only just seen her picture, but he's already this proactive in making his move. Don't you think having him as your son-in-law will be much better than that freeloader Stephen? Natalie didn't give Kim a chance to cut in.
I understand. When Kim and I get back to Los Angeles, the first thing we'll do is file the divorce papers.
At this time, Amy and Vanessa were dragging Stephen out of the house to accompany them on a tour of Santa Ana. Since he was already out, he decided to ask around for the best restaurants in the city to prepare for Kim's birthday. Along the way, they bumped into Oliver. He was one of Amy and Vanessa's university classmates. Many students had decided to leave their dorms and relax out of the city during their short holiday. Oliver was from a wealthy family, and he seemed to be interested in Vanessa, but she was close to Stephen, so he was secretly jealous of him. To Oliver, Stephen was mediocre, and it made him want to show off. He invited the three of them to karaoke and drove them to an expensive location.
Stephen, have you seen this kind of place before?
Nope, Stephen said. This was the truth. This type of entertainment had never appealed to him.
Let me tell you, this is one of the best karaoke places in the city. Everything about it is high class, including the sound quality, service, and even the atmosphere. You might not know this, but it costs $10,000 for 1 hour. With so many of us, I can afford to treat you guys today, and we can sing for an hour or two.
2 hours is only $20,000 for each person. I can afford much more than that.
Stephen's attitude made Oliver's blood boil. But before he could say anything, two men approached them. They eyed Amy and Vanessa with a lecherous look in their eyes.
Why don't you two pretty ladies ditch them and come with us?
Oliver stepped forward.
You better leave while you can. I'll have you know I'm an expert when it comes to martial arts.
However, the thugs weren't bothered by his threat, and with one punch, they knocked Oliver unconscious. Oliver awoke to Stephen, Vanessa, and Amy looking down at him. He was sprawled on the ground with a pebble digging uncomfortably into his back. He sat up and looked around.
What happened to those two guys?
They left, Stephen said.
What? You let them go just like that? Did you forget the way they looked at Amy and Vanessa?
Vanessa was exasperated.
Get it together, Oliver. Do you remember where you are?
Oliver looked her over. She seemed fine, which meant that Stephen had somehow chased those two thugs away.
Vanessa, are you okay? What did Stephen do?
Vanessa narrowed her eyes. Compared to Stephen, Oliver was...
Do you even know who he is?
He's... Vanessa swallowed her words when she recalled the incident from earlier. 5 minutes ago, after the two thugs knocked Oliver out, another thug recognized Stephen and ran over. He apologized to Stephen and vowed to teach his friends a lesson for disrespecting him. And just like that, the situation was quickly taken care of.
Stephen, you're amazing, Vanessa exclaimed.
Tell me, are you hiding a secret identity? Why were they so afraid of you? Vanessa was Amy's roommate and her best friend. Amy had mentioned her good-for-nothing brother-in-law multiple times, and she'd always wondered if he was as bad as she made him out to be. However, what happened just now had changed Vanessa's impression of Stephen. Compared to what Amy had said, he was like a completely different person. Stephen casually came up with an excuse.
You got me. I'm actually a spy. 3 years ago, I dethroned the boss and became my own boss.
Vanessa was a young and immature university student. She bought his nonsensical lie.
Are you like one of those spies in action movies? I didn't expect you to be hiding such a big secret. That's why they were so afraid of you.
Can't be helped now that you know, but my identity has to be kept a secret, so...
Vanessa didn't wait for him to finish and cut him off.
You can trust me with your secret. I won't tell anyone. It's too bad that you had to ruin your own reputation for the sake of your mission.
Vanessa pitied him even more when she thought about the countless number of times Amy had ridiculed him.
It's good that you understand, Stephen said. This is the secret between us two. You can't tell anyone, not even Amy. Can you do this for me?
Don't worry, no one will ever know, Vanessa promised with confidence.
Oliver was confused when she paused in the middle of her sentence.
Why did you stop? What did he do?
Vanessa snapped out of it and replied, He called the police. Oliver wasn't impressed.
That's it? I was expecting something more dramatic. like one man versus two thugs to save two beautiful girls. That was what he said, but on the inside, Oliver felt relieved to know that Stephen hadn't dealt with the situation on his own. He'd needed help from the police. They entered the building and booked a karaoke room. Several of Oliver's classmates joined them. Oliver was disappointed when Vanessa seemed to have an interest in Stephen instead of him. She selected a love song to be sung by two people and put a mic in Stephen's hands. Oliver didn't want them to sing a duet together. "It's not like he knows how to sing. Why don't you sing this song with me, Vanessa?" Just as he was about to snatch the mic, Stephen stopped him. "Who said I can't sing? I can even set a record." Oliver laughed. "You think you can sing better than everyone here? All right, why don't we have a bet? If I lose, then I'll pay for today's expenses, and I'll even treat you to food." Vanessa accepted the bet in place of Stephen. She'd already discovered one of his secrets. She wondered if he had any more. Amy sat to the side, watching Vanessa stare at Stephen the moment they entered the room. It felt like Stephen was Vanessa's brother-in-law instead of her brother-in-law. Amy couldn't help but feel a little down. Either way, she didn't think Stephen would win. Oliver was the president of their university's music and arts club. His singing was on the same level as the talented students in the music department. Of course, Oliver was aware that he had the upper hand. "To be fair, we'll each select our own songs. Whoever gets the highest score wins. Do you have any objections?" "No, I'm fine with that." At Stephen's confirmation, Oliver selected a song titled Paradise. The music played, and he opened his mouth to sing. His voice was deep, and he had every note. At the end of the song, a score of 9.9 points flashed on the screen, and his classmates gave him a round of applause. Oliver's version of Paradise was so similar to the original that there was barely any difference. He felt a surge of pride after hearing his classmates compliment him and flashed a triumphant grin at Stephen. "You've lost." "How do you know? I haven't even had my turn." Oliver's classmates shot Stephen a disdainful look. "You should admit defeat. Oliver received 9.9 points. I've been coming here for years, and this is the first time I've seen someone get this score." "Do you really think that you can beat him?" Amy whispered. "What are you doing, Stephen? He's already got 9.9 points. Why are you still competing? Do you want to embarrass me in front of my classmates?" Vanessa countered with her own reasoning. "I think it'll be better if he gives it a try. Oliver was taught by a professional singer, but Stephen's an amateur. Even if he gets 9 points, that would still be considered a good score." Amy was hesitant. "I guess so, but—" Oliver overheard their conversation. "Okay, how's this? As long as Stephen scores an 8.5, it'll be my loss." Stephen reached for the tablet to sing a song. "It's a good thing to be confident, but being overconfident is called arrogance." Everyone was surprised when he chose the same song as Oliver, Paradise. Oliver was amused. He'd already scored 9.9 points, which was ranked first in the karaoke system. Stephen wouldn't be able to surpass him. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Stephen's singing was better than they'd imagined, if not perfect. They held their breath as they immersed themselves in his incredible voice. It felt like they were listening to the original song, raw and emotional. Amy was especially surprised. She was beginning to wonder if her eyes were playing tricks on her. Was Stephen really singing at the front of the room? When Stephen reached the climax of the song, the screen was filled with extravagant effects, indicating how well he was singing. Oliver was dumbfounded. "Hold on, maybe he didn't turn off the original singer's voice." His classmates rushed to the front to check the screen, but to their dismay, only the music was being played. The original singer's vocals were absent. This proved that Stephen's singing resembled the original singer. Compared to Oliver's flawed imitation, Stephen's version was almost perfect. The room was silent long after the song ended. Everyone was caught up in Stephen's heavenly voice, and they couldn't come back to their senses. It was only when a perfect score of 10 appeared on the screen that the room burst into thunderous applause and excited cheers. 10 points! This is the first time in history that someone's gotten a perfect score in the karaoke system. I'm so glad I came today. Who knew I'd be able to witness this glorious moment? Oliver blinked at the screen, but a score of 10 remained. He had to admit that Stephen's performance had surpassed his own, but he wouldn't go down so easily. There has to be something wrong with the machine. Find the boss. Most of the students agreed with him. Whenever Oliver and his classmates came, they would usually achieve at most 9.5 points. 9.9 points was all but impossible to attain, and a perfect score of 10 was only a fantasy. Let's switch to another room, Vanessa said. This room may be reserved for VIPs, and the equipment is better, but I'm confident that Stephen would still be able to score another perfect 10. Her suggestion caught Oliver's attention. Sure, but what does he think? Vanessa turned to Stephen. Let's go. I'm sure you'll get the same score. Amy cleared her throat and got between them. Why are you sticking so close to him? He's my brother-in-law. Amy herself didn't realize this, but she was a little jealous. It hadn't been long since Stephen and Vanessa met, but she was already acting friendly with him. They were closer than Amy had ever been with him. But that was besides the point. Even though she had always been displeased with Stephen's freeloading ways, he and Kim were married. It didn't feel right to see her best friend and her sister's husband hitting it off. Vanessa laughed in response. No matter how much Amy complained about Stephen, at the end of the day, he was still her brother-in-law. Relax, I'm not doing anything to him.
Hi, I'm Stephen.
Want to know my secrets?
Then download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Secret Succession now.